Well, a very warm welcome to you all. A happy Tuesday lunchtime. Thank you very much for joining us. I won't give a big preamble, but as you know, the theme of this webinar is to just help you to plan your marketing in 2026. We've got a lot to cover. If ever you joined one of mine or Simon's webinars in the past, you'll know that they are fast and frantic. And that is why we have the Q&A there. We'll try to get through this with enough time to allow time for questions at the end, which might relate to what we're talking about today. It might relate to other aspects of marketing. Feel free to ask away. But we're going to give you some insight into how to plan your marketing for 2026. And yes, as promoted, that will include an aspect of AI. It will also include an aspect of data as well, which we're quite excited to share with you because I reckon that's something which could be new to an awful lot of people on the call today. If you're unfamiliar with us, then you're equally as welcome. My name's Toby. I'm the Chief Content Officer here at We Are Unchained. And Simon, do you want to introduce yourself?
Definitely. So I'm Simon Leadbetter, founded We're Unchained 3 years ago, and was delighted to ask Toby to join the club. That was last September, wasn't it?
That's right. Time flies.
Background in various agencies, but I like helping really forward-thinking businesses, which is what We Are Unchained does. Is we find the best people in the industry and work with them and help them do better marketing, which is what today's about.
So, with that in mind, shall I pop the slides up and we can make a start. So it's quite disconcerting. I can't see you any longer, Simon, but I presume you're there. This is your 2026 marketing plan.
Oh, can I just help Toby there? If you go into technical error user, if you go into view, you can do gallery.
Thank you.
Then you'll still see me. Not that anyone else.
Live tech support on the call. Beautiful. So let's press on then. If I move us on to the next slide. There we go. Do you want to take it away, Simon?
Yeah. So before we start, because I mean, this is for your benefit, not ours, in the sense that, we know what's in this presentation because Toby and I wrote it. What we want to understand is give you the maximum value that we can in the next 45 minutes. So if you could, in the Q&A, so it's the Q&A, not the comments, it's the Q&A you want to use, is if you could put in there, what is your biggest marketing headache in 2026? If you just spend 30 seconds now putting into the Q&A, what are your biggest frustrations that you've got with marketing? What we hope to do is by the time we get to 10 to 1, we've answered those questions. And if we haven't, we'll answer them live with the 10, 15 minutes we've got left at the end. But please, if you could put in the Q&A, they're not questions, they're just statements. Thank you. We've got one already. We've got 2, 3. Yeah, they're all coming through.
And while you're doing that, just to answer for the sake of everybody, hello, Nat. Nat Barton just asked a question and said, would we share the slides? Very happy to share the slides. And in advance of this webinar, you hopefully all received an email with a handout attached to it, which we'll make available afterwards as well, which refers to, once we get into the AI section, it includes a lot of the prompts that we're going to go through today as well.
They're still coming in, I think.
I was going to try and write all these down, but
yeah, let's go. Budget's coming up, time, the team's coming up, geo and SEO, reaching the right people at the right cost, time and resources, knowing what we need to market, but not completely sure what marketing is. Comes 30 years of marketing in one day. Cutting through the noise, generating leads, posting on social media. Wish there was a quicker way. There is. Keeping on top of all socials. There's a way of doing that. How do we get high up on geo returns? We can talk about that. Won't talk, not specifically today, but we have solutions, and we'll make sure we put some answers out afterwards. For any questions we don't answer or can't because we want to go talk to someone else, we'll get the answers and send them out. Being consistent. Consistency is a super strength. Vast array of promotional directions. We can help you with that. Some really good ones.
And some recurring themes as well, which we'll definitely be addressing on this call.
And almost like you rehearsed it, Toby. If you click onto the next slide, there are definitely some. Okay, bring them all up because I thought I was driving, but you're driving. Is We do the voice of the agent. We've just completed part 1 of 2026, which is now a monthly survey. If you're not downloading it, go to the We Are Unchained and download these reports completely for free. One of the questions we asked in 2025, 24, and 23 is, what are your biggest frustrations with marketing? And they've come out in what you said there: time poverty, content fatigue, the constant pressure to create more content, ROI. I put £10 in, how much do I get back? Channel confusion. Someone mentioned that about the number of channels out there. Yeah, it was Caroline.
Caroline,
cost, yeah. Cost pressure. More channels means more spend, doesn't it? And more investment. Targeting gaps. How do I get to the right vendors and landlords to get them to come and actually use me? Skills and buy-in. I've been made to do marketing because I've kind of got a knack for it, but I'm not a trained marketer. Yeah, that's a big problem. And inconsistent execution. One of the biggest problems, I think it's 45% of people from the Voice of the Agent we surveyed said marketing is their job, but it's not a key part of their job. It's not their job. They do it as part of their job. That's difficult when other things happen. So yeah, if you click on to the next slide. So this is something you should do. You can do this if you've got your mobile phone with you. I strongly recommend you do this as I speak for a couple of minutes, because you can, or get it downloaded and saved it for later. I do a lot of consultancy, and Toby does a lot of consulting. We go into companies and we audit them. We charge a bit of money for that. But one thing we found consistently is this process that I developed called ISTAR, about your insight, your strategy, your talent, your action and results, is a surefire way of getting your marketing correct. What do you know? Insight. Strategy, where you're going. Talent, who's doing it. Actions, what are you doing? And the results, what do you expect? So we made the survey that we used to charge for, the first part of it, completely free. If you scan that QR code, you can do the survey. Do it now, do it later, screenshot the next screen when we show it, because you can see the result of 220 people who've already done the survey. So, and it'll tell you where you're strong, where you're weak, and critically, because you can compare it to the data we're about to show you, where all your peers are. So if we click on.
And I think that a point to make about this is that even if you don't take anything else away from the webinar, if you do this survey, you will find out your strengths and weaknesses, which will give you some direction. What are we looking at here?
So this was 220 results. I think I'll give you more now because it's a live thing we keep updating. Is overall, so the green line is those people who said it was excellent, light green, okay, yellow, average, orange, not so good, bad, terrible. You can see how the results went. And, overall, 59%, actually stronger than I expected on insight. That's kind of good, but there's still a chunk there who are okay to not very good. Results is a big one. Action's a big one. But if you think the score you should be aiming at is 80, if you click, there's a massive opportunity. And just understanding your scores, and you're going to get these slides against these scores, will tell you how you're doing. I haven't found a successful company that doesn't have an overall score of 80. Genuinely as successful as it could be. Perfection is the enemy of the good. Very few people get a score of 100, but 80 means your marketing is in a pretty good shape. That as an industry, we're at 59, says there's some significant room for improvement. So do the score. It takes 5 minutes. It's totally free. It'll give you a full analysis, and you can use that to go, oh, actually, what surprised me? And the best thing you can do if there's a group of you, I know there's some self-employed people here, but if there's a group of you, get everyone in the team to do it. Because what's really interesting is how different everyone scores. Because if you each bring your reports to a meeting and go, well, I scored as 60 over 100, someone scored you 20, try and understand why that difference is there, because the most successful businesses are aligned. If we click on. So some tips that you absolutely should apply, and these come from 30 years of marketing course and various other things. And when I hand over to Toby, he's going to go through two of these in real detail, is try and work in 18-month cycles. Why do I say that? Because everywhere I've ever been in the last 3 decades is people always surprised when Christmas happens. And then they collapse because Christmas has happened and go, oh no, the New Year's started. If you have an 18-month calendar with all the observance days, all the events coming out, things like brand campaigns where you're telling your story take months to flesh out over time. If you think just tactically day in, day out, you're not letting your overall brand narrative grow over time, which is where the real success happens. So if you have 18 months and every quarter, add another 3 months to the end. So you remove 3 months, you add 3 months. It means you've got time to really plan out how you're going to do stuff. And also, you're not chasing your tail. We're going to talk about this in depth in a moment. Do you really know who your target customer is? Most people don't know their target customer as well as they could easily with a bit of help. And actually knowing exactly who they are will really help with your marketing, because you'll know what topics resonate with them and you'll know how they like to communicate. If you know the topics that interest them and how they like to be spoken to, you'll do better marketing. A lot of us are just sort of broadcasting stuff out there, but we think it's interesting without really just checking, is that what the people we want to talk to want to hear about? So, Ian, you've raised a question, I think.
I saw a hand being raised, but I don't know what that means. Don't forget, if you have a question you'd like to ask, then the thing to do is to put it in the Q&A, and
answer that.
We'll put
what I presume it was a thumbs up how amazing this presentation is so far. So if we click on, so I talk about this a lot. If you've been to any of my presentations, if you've ever been to any of the conferences or any of the training I've ever done, I talk about the 4 riders of the marketing of the apocalypse. And in short, let's bring them up. There is email, social media, and direct. I'm going to show you the science about why I say those 4 things in a second. But when you look at your marketing plan and your 18-month calendar, think, what am I doing in the PR space? What am I doing in the email space? What am I doing in the social media space? And what am I doing in the direct mail space? It's not 1 of the above, 2 of the above, 3 of the above. It's all 4. If you're doing all 4, you'll be all right. The best time to start PR was 20 years ago or today. Email, they've already opted into you. Social media, big companies have given you access to all the world's population for free. Direct mail, you know where people live. So use direct mail. So let's go through them in turn. I'll start off with the first rider of the marketing apocalypse, which is PR. So if we click on. So there's a lot going on in the world at the moment, and people like to keep up to date on their news. 97% of people in the UK like to keep up with news and current events. That's most of us in reality. Most will go to TV, then news apps and websites, then social media, then radio, then talking with family and friends. The reason why you use PR is you're borrowing someone else's credibility. If you appear in the pages of the local parish magazine, an influencer, a national magazine, a regional newspaper, the local business magazine, they already have an audience. They already have people who've opted into their message because they're receiving, they're buying or subscribing or reading their content. People dismiss things like the press, whereas if you click a couple of times, 2 stats come up, it should be there in a second. Yeah, so nearly 80% of adults read a national newspaper brand, offline and on, mainly online these days. And nearly a third of UK adults still read a local or regional newspaper brand. The Manchester Evening News has 12.3 million views per month. Now, someone told me that the local newspaper in their area was dead because they didn't see the print anymore. I then pointed out it had 7 million users online. Now there's bots and there's all that kind of stuff, but a number of them will be real people. And don't underestimate the power of as featured in. If you're featured in the Stamford Mercury, for example, that's good for your business because not everyone is. And being there, and everyone loves property. Everyone loves property. 96 million visits to Rightmove a month, only 45 million adults, only 100,000 transactions. What are we all doing? We're looking at property because we love property. So, and the other thing about PR, if you click, it wins on ROI. All you need to do is send an article. Click on. So, okay, bit of data here. Let me explain what this shows. YouGov asks 120,000 people, which of any of the following brand communications have ever led directly to a purchase? So these are the things that will drive someone to spend money. And what's really weird, and there are 5 different types of consumers: conscious consumers, premium spenders, curious influencers, complacent clientele, skeptical shoppers. That could be wealth, that could be age, That could be any classification along the bottom, whatever. Because when I've done it multiple times to try and test if this work, is the four that always win, always across every single group, is email number one, social media number two, TV number three, but it's expensive, and direct mail. Those four things. So you've got PR doing all your brand work. Social media will help with your brand work. But if you've got an active email campaign, social media campaign, and direct mail, you can't lose if you click. So if you want to get responses, what are you doing with your emails? How are you using your social media? And what are you doing with your direct mail? People can help you. AI can help you. We'll go into that more. And if you can afford it, things like Sky AdSmart, because some big companies and some small companies I know in here, is if you can afford TV, it's still really successful at driving a response. And Sky AdSmart means you can actually target really hyper-local areas. And once you create a video once, use it on YouTube, use it everywhere, put it all out of the place. The point is, once you produce something, recycle it. Click on. So, Toby, that's kind of a bit of information for free. You know, the four wise market models. How do you take all that insight and do something with that? This is why I hand you over to the capable hands of Toby. Go on, Toby.
Well, thanks, Simon. So we've seen so far some general ingredients that should be in your marketing plan, plus the four channels that you should be prioritizing. But as your comments at the beginning indicated, that doesn't answer all the questions, because we need to know which channels perhaps to prioritize or to allocate most budget to. We need to know exactly what topics to address, how to address them, in what tone. And I'm sure Simon will agree with me. One of the most overlooked aspects of marketing, whether you're doing your marketing in-house or whether you're using a company to support you, is customer insight. Because we feel like we know our customers. And so the majority of us are marketing based on our own assumptions, which might be right and they might be wrong. And if they are wrong, it means that you could be wasting a lot of time and money. So the insight step is so crucial, but it is so often skipped. There's four different ways here that you can go about obtaining that customer insight, which will then inform your marketing, which will then inform which channels you prioritize, the topics you discuss, how you do it, where you do it. And let's go through them. From left to right, in ascending order of budget, you could do your own research. And by that, I mean, well, yeah, you could pay for research, but that costs a lot of money. But I think this is how a lot of people do it. When I say do their own research, they go off their own hunches. They go, well, I know my customers, and my own hunches and my own knowledge and my own assumption of my customers is what's going to inform my marketing. But notice that includes a lot of I's. And you don't really want your marketing to be about you and your assumptions. You want your marketing to be about your customers, because then it's going to be more on point and it's going to be more relevant and more likely to resonate with your customers. So your own research is a risky approach because it runs a higher risk that you'll get it wrong, that you'll be pouring resources into something that's not going to land with your market, creating a lot of noise, but not actually resonating with the right people. So then you could use AI, and we will be looking at AI a lot more in the second half of this webinar. But the issue with AI is that if you use it straight out of the box, if you log on to ChatGPT or Gemini, then you're using a generic form of AI, the same AI that is available to every single other business person across the country. And the issue with that generic form of AI, wonderful though AI is that it comes with its own errors and assumptions and hallucinations and inaccuracies. And you can see on your screen there the error rate, and according to very recent research of using generic AI, is between a 21 and 38% error rate. And interestingly, that error rate is higher if you're not a national company. The more local you are, the higher the error rate when you use AI, because it's making broader assumptions when you drill down to a local scale. So you could use AI, but you again have to acknowledge that it's being based on assumptions that could be incorrect, that could then lead you to be pouring your resources into something that is that's not going to land with your market. So we move up to the next tier. And don't get me wrong, any form of insight is better than no insight, but each one of these gets a little bit better. So then we move on to free Experian Insight, and we'll talk more and more about Experian, but you're probably familiar with them. A vast data company with probably the most prominent in the UK, or certainly one of them. And you can get limited amount of information about your customers for free. If you Google Experian Mosaic, you can put in a postcode and it will give you insights about the people who live in that postcode. Now that is helpful, and I'd encourage you to use that over nothing. Again, the limitation with it is that you can only do one postcode at a time. And when I say postcode, I mean a full postcode, not just the first half. So you're drilling down into one postcode. And the likelihood is that you cover many postcodes. So you're going to have to do it little by little at a time. And it's not the full data set. It's not as much data as you could obtain from Experian. So you're gaining a partial insight into your customers. Helpful, but not comprehensive. And that takes us on to the final option here on the far right hand side, which is the full fat version of both Experian, and we also should mention YouGov here as well, the two foremost data companies in the UK. And if you obtain all of the data that you could obtain from Experian and Mosaic on your customers, then you will simply know everything about them. You'll know everything about me, about you, about Simon, about literally every single household in the country. You'll know their beliefs, their preferences, their politics, their life stage, their affluence, their preferred channels, everything. And this is wonderful. But of course, the thing with that is that this is generally the preserve of major corporations. If you look at anybody from John Lewis to Nike to whoever else, this will be how they go about their marketing, because they want their marketing to work. They want their marketing to speak to the right people. They don't want to waste resources. So they obtain all of the data on their marketing. But this costs thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. Until now, because I want to give you a fifth option. The fifth option is Unchained Customer DNA. And this is where things get quite interesting and exciting from our perspective, because this has been thrilling to work on. And I want to highlight here that there is something here that we can do to help you, but all of the previous options you can obtain for free. So I'm going to show you something here that we've partnered with Experian and YouGov to provide at a very affordable cost. And that is to provide businesses with that comprehensive level of data on your precise customers. And when I say that, I mean, give us your addresses, the exact addresses, and you get the data of those households. So to explain a little bit more about how this works. So Unchained Customer DNA is the Experian Mosaic data that I mentioned just now. It is the full fat comprehensive data. And how that works is that Experian have mapped individual postcodes, and then they drill down to household level to create profiles and data sets on every individual household pretty much across the UK. It's absolutely bonkers level of data. When I first saw this, I have to confess, it blew my mind. 850 million plus data sources, 950 plus consumer variables. If you think you know your customers, there's a cast iron guarantee that you don't know them to that extent, to that extraordinary extent. And what we're talking about here is the amount of data that helps you to build a picture of the not just sellers in Bristol, not just sellers in Brighton, not just landlords in Nottingham, landlords in Birmingham, but within those markets, there's different kinds of sellers. There's your market. So this allows you to build a picture of the exact people who walk through your door, who are your exact customers. And using that to inform your marketing, that's how you know which channels to pick, what topics to choose, what tone of voice to use, how to actually resonate with those customers. So I'm going to show you this in action very shortly, and exactly how you can use this in combination with AI, because that's how you can save time, be more precise, be more effective. There's a QR code on the screen there if you would like to look at this more closely. The cost of this, I mentioned, it costs thousands to major corporations. Amazingly, this is nothing to do with me. Amazingly, thanks to Simon, this is available for £360 for that data.
I'm going to be the bearer of bad news. It's £365.
Oh,
minor thing.
Forgive me. There's me trying to sneak in a little discount. Yeah, £365 for that level of data on all of your customers. And as that, you can see the footnote that we've just introduced this, and it is going to go up at the start of next month to £365 plus VAT. But that is the price level of obtaining an extraordinary amount of data on your customers. And I'll just pause for 30 seconds in case anybody wants to scan that QR code. You don't have to look at it now, but in case you want to scan it and leave it for later, I will in a moment pop the link in the chat as well. Sorry, the Q&A. But if I move on now, this is what it looks like. And I'm not going to pour over this because it's too much data to digest, isn't it? You'd have to have a dedicated team, I think, just to interpret this level of data to make it usable for you, which is why it works so well with AI. But just to give you an idea, this is what it looks like when you receive it. And it is extraordinarily detailed, extraordinarily precise, and extraordinarily accurate. And so how do you actually use this in combination with AI? That's where things get really interesting. And for a geek like me, incredibly exciting. And that's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to demonstrate it live in just a minute. Before I do that, this is the short. This is like Channel 4. Here come the adverts. So we'll get onto the live demo in just a moment. Before we do that, we haven't really introduced Unchained very comprehensively. If you are new on this webinar and haven't really heard of us or dealt with us before, a couple of quick words. I don't want you to come out of this webinar with the impression that data plus AI is the best way to do your marketing. It is a very, very good way to go about doing your marketing, and it will be a lot more effective, probably, than what a lot of you are already doing right now. Giving your marketing and your customer DNA to a dedicated marketing agency such as Unchained is probably the best option to have an actual expert and skilled workforce working on it. I'm not really the best person. Simon, do you want to give us a 30-second introduction to Unchained and what we do?
Yeah, so basically we operate at 3 levels because we want to basically help everyone we can. So we do stuff like this all the time. We've got another webinar coming up in February, similar sort of thing, but different topic. And we do this for free. So everyone can attend that. As Toby said earlier, we can send you a link to the Experian thing. You can do individual postcodes, and that'll show you the profiles of those individual postcodes. We have the full fat, more powerful version. Then we can mentor people. So you can do it yourself, DIY. We can do it with you. So Toby and I, we mentor business leaders. So if you want someone to mentor you for a couple of hours a month, we can help you. And we don't do the marketing for you, but you can ask us any question that you want to ask us, and we'll help you with that. Or, that's the done with you, we do it for you. For some people, spending £3,500 a month on an agency, give or take, means they get all their marketing strategy done, all their social media done, all their PR done, all their email done, all their direct mail done, and it's all for the price of essentially what would be a good marketing manager fully loaded. So you had a good marketing manager, about 50K, with a 1.3, 1.6 times for all the overhead and tax and kind of stuff. So, a good one, you're not looking at much change and get 35, 40, 50, but all that, about 40, 50,000 pounds, 60,000 pounds, that's the number you're looking at. We're priced at more like the 40,000 pounds because we are your marketing manager effectively. And we go up from there. We can be your head of marketing, we can be your marketing director, or we can be your CMO. On top of all that, Toby and I are very happy to do days with you. Toby does an amazing AI class, an amazing video class. I do a marketing class, and we come and do it in company, or we can do it and we do these events generally. So the point is, at any level, you can access Unchained and what we do. You can do it yourself. Come to things like this. We put a whole bunch of content, getting subscribed to our newsletter. We can hold your hand gently and just guide you. So you've got a difficult question, because we've got years of experience between us. And we normally, if we don't know the answer, we can find it. Or full fat, give us the problem, we'll solve it for you. So that's kind of what Unchained does.
I think the only thing I'd add to that is I think you'll go a very long way until you find another marketing agency in our industry that uses this level of data on your customers. So there
we
you go.
we surveyed it. The number one group of people who wanted this data, when we surveyed about 500 business leaders, were other marketing agencies. No marketing agency has this level. It's just because I used to work with this stuff in my corporate life, and I grabbed it the moment I could when I came into my SME life. Most people don't even know it really exists. So yeah, we have an advantage.
So there you go. This quick introduction to Unchained. If you'd like to discuss any of that, do drop us a line after the webinar. And Simon, also before we get cracking again, briefly alluded to next month's webinar. We're going to run these on a monthly basis. And I cannot tell you how much I'm looking forward to this, because as someone who has sat through Simon's 30 years of marketing in a day training course 3 times, I cannot wait to see how you're going to squish this into 60 minutes. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
It goes at a fair old clip. I know there's quite a few people who are on this in this thing who've been to 30 years of marketing in one day and were very kind about it. So yes, if you've been on 30 years of marketing in one day, come. It's a great refresher. If you haven't been to 30 years of marketing in one day, come. It's a great taster to what you're going to get taken through in a different level of detail in about a month's time after that. So come, it literally gives you a framework. It gives you all the basic tools you need to do really good marketing. It builds on ISTAR. So the ISTAR test that you've done, let's say you don't get that great a score, come to that next month and it'll tell you how you can improve it. Very simply, totally for free. Come along. I just have to speak very fast because I've got to do 7 hours content in 1 hour.
Speaking of which, QR code there. We'll include any link that's been on the screen will be sent around an email afterwards, but QR code there as well. And speaking of going at a fair lick, time is slipping by, so let's crack on with the rest of today's session, which is where things get even more interesting, if that can be conceived. So where were we? We were just talking about how LLMs, the likes of ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, are far more accurate when they are fed geodemographic data. I knew I wouldn't be able to get that word out in one go. Or second time. Data on your customers increases that accuracy, as you can see there, in some instances, almost all the way to 100%. Because you are training them on your precise customers. And so what I am going to do now is I'm just going to give you a little flavor of how this could work. And so this is where I need to stop my screen share and switch across to, let me share my whole window, which might mean that we get a moment of the infinity window. No, I don't think we have. And let me come out of the presentation. And so hopefully you can all see my general screen now. Is that coming over, Simon? You just got my desktop now rather than great. So
I've still got your PowerPoint. You need to probably
PowerPoint.
You need to share a different screen.
Thought I had. Let me try that again. So hopefully I just shared my general screen now.
No, you've shared the presentation again.
That's right. But now,
yes,
yes. ChatGPT. Hooray! Okay, so I come to ChatGPT. Obviously, other LLMs exist. Gemini, Claude. It's hard to know which to use at the moment. But if you want more on that, then come on my AI course. But I'm going to use ChatGPT for this because it has the most users and it's most likely that you're using that. And so I'm going to give you a very small flavor of what's possible here. And first of all, let me quickly show you this. When someone buys a customer DNA report from us, and I'm going to base this on customer DNA. Everything that I show you is also possible without customer DNA, as long as you provide your own customer insights. If you do gather that intelligence on your customers by some other means, that stage is critical. But if you want to do it another way, then of course you can do that. Simply follow this process, but apply your own customer data where I'm applying customer DNA here. So if you purchase customer DNA from us, you get sent this 60-page guide, which is absolutely full of it's a prompt library that takes you through the entire marketing process, from learning about your customers to planning to executing that plan and creating marketing particulars. We sent you out as a free handout for this webinar, a slightly shorter version, which gives you a taster. And that's the prompts that I'll use in this next section, are the prompts from that short guide. And so the first thing that I want to do when I come to ChatGPT, like I say, we don't want to use ChatGPT straight out of the box. We want to train it to be specific to our agency and our customers. So I'm going to upload certain documents to ChatGPT before getting cracking on the marketing. So first of all, I'm going to upload a bit of information about my agency, in this case, Unchained Estates. But you would want to pull together a brief document that tells the story of your agency, what you do, what your services are, your awards, your background, your reviews, everything that you can put into one document that tells your ChatGPT who you are and what you do. I'm also going to upload, if you don't know how to do this, drop me a line, I can tell you very easily, a research file that I got ChatGPT to compile about my local area. Which in this demo is Nottingham. So I've got it to research Nottingham and the local history, the people who lived there, the broader demographics of the general area. So it's got some background information about my area. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come to Unchained. I'm going to come to ChatGPT. Let me just get my prompt. I'm going to put that in. And first of all, I'm just asking it to digest these documents. So let me put in my 2 documents that I've just shown you there. And essentially I'm saying to it, just read these documents and don't do anything else at the moment. So once it's done that, I'll just leave that going in the background. I'm going to want to provide my actual data on my customers. This is the full report that you get. As you can see, it's got some information, some instructions about how to use it. If I just skip down a little bit, you actually start to get to the data. It shows you a heat map of exactly where your customers are, and then the actual set of data about your customers, demographics, geodemographics. That's the actual juicy bit of this report. So let's come back to ChatGPT. It's told me that it's read those documents. So the last thing I want to do is drop in my actual customer data. Wait for that to upload and submit that. So what I've done before I jump in is I've primed the AI. I've taught it, this is who my business is, this is where I'm based, and most vitally, these are my customers. Here is everything you need to know about my customers. And of course, the output from ChatGPT is now going to be far more relevant and far more focused, far more accurate, now that I've provided that information. So let's get the next prompt. The next prompt, I've just got them in a document here to save a bit of time, is I'm going to first of all give it a role. So this is saying to it, you're my marketing strategy assistant. I want you to use the customer DNA report to inform all recommendations. So let me just submit that. And then the next thing I'm going to do, we'll do 2 things on this call very quickly. First of all, we'll extract some insights about our customers. Let's learn a bit more about the customers who we deal with. And the second one, we'll make a marketing plan, that 18-month plan that Simon alluded to. So first of all, let's go in with this one. Let me explain the prompt that I'm putting in. Again, this is on your handout. Read the customer DNA report and explain in plain English who we over-index in. That means who are our most frequent customers, what this tells us about our market, what this should change about our marketing priorities. Keep it concise and practical. So let's see how we go with that. We'll allow it a moment to chug away. Here's a plain English practical summary of what your customer DNA report tells us. We over-index in, now each little segment has these kind of snappy, snazzy names. Transient renters, young singles, home sharers, room renters, living in low-cost terraces, HMOs, compact flats, heavy smartphone users, highly social, mobile lifestyles, short-term renters, not long-term planners. We've also got family basics, budget-conscious families, often council or housing association tenants, lower discretionary income, practical, value-led decision-making, and senior security. Retired singles and couples. They own their homes outright, often bungalows. They're financially stable but cautious. They've got low digital engagement and traditional habits. That's going to be really important. There's a couple of things that we've seen there that are going to be really important when we come to look at channels and which we prioritize and invest most heavily in. What does this tell us about our market? We operate in a renter-heavy, value-driven, transitional city market. Our customer base is dominated by renters, not homeowners, short-term living, not long-term settlement, budget awareness over lifestyle aspiration, and practical needs over emotional brand stories. I'll skip a little bit here. People come to you because they need a place to live. They need it quickly. They need it affordable. They need it simple. They want things fixed fast, not because they're dreaming about their forever home, not because they want aspirational lifestyle branding, not because they care about premium positioning. Well, this should change about your marketing priorities. Put lettings at the center of your messaging. Your audience is overwhelmingly rental led. So your marketing should lead with tenant services, promote speed, responsiveness, and simplicity, highlight maintenance support, emphasize fairness and clarity, and show how easy it is to rent through you. Less, find your dream home. More, move in faster. No stress. We sort it. Prioritize clarity over creativity. I won't read every word of this. It's on the screen. Hopefully you can see it. Shift tone from aspirational to supportive. Young dominant segments are young renters, budget-focused families, and retired homeowners. Sorry, your dominant segments. They respond to reassurance, plain English, transparency, no jargon, no sales pressure. Your tone should be calm, helpful, human, and local. Use mobile-first, simple formats. Your renter segments are smartphone-led and social. So short videos, simple graphics, clear call to actions, direct answers. Reframe your value proposition. Not we're a modern, innovative estate agency, but we make renting and letting simple, fair, and stress-free in Nottingham. The bottom line. Your customer DNA shows you are not a lifestyle brand agency. You're a local, practical, renter-focused service business. Your marketing should reflect speed over storytelling, clarity over creativity, service over sales, and help over hype. Okay. So we instantly know a hell of a lot more about our customers than we previously did. It's not based on assumptions. It is based on a huge amount of research, facts, and data. I know time is ticking by. Let's move on to the next stage. Now, this long prompt here is going to ask ChatGPT to create an 18-month marketing plan. Bear in mind, we are doing a bit of an abridged version of this. There are more steps that you could go through to make this more thorough and detailed along the way. But let's just skip to the 18-month plan and see what it comes up with. This can then, of course, with the rest of the prompts in the full fat guide, be turned into a 365-day posting plan, a week-by-week schedule. You can go into as much granular detail as you like, but this will be an overarching plan. What it's doing here is it's asking me questions to refine its answer, which we've asked it to do in the prompt. But because this is a demo, I'm just going to say this is a demo, so proceed on the basis of reasonable assumptions in reply to all of your questions.
Actually, you're such a pro, Toby.
But you know, actually, it hasn't done this before because it's asked me questions, but it says while you reply, here's a working draft plan based on what we already know. So I had that already, but it's going ahead and it's writing a draft plan. I won't read through this in every detail, but hopefully I can skim through it to give you an idea already of what you can achieve and how quickly and accurately you can do it. So this draft plan that it's drafting while it's waiting for me to clarify the answer to these questions that it's raised, we've got strategic direction. That feeds off what we were just hearing about being renter heavy and value led. A phased roadmap. We got phase 1, months 1 to 3. Make it easy to choose us with the objective, focus of activity. And then we've got phase 2, months 4 to 9. Growth. Own lettings demand and convert it. Objective, increase lettings inquiries. Focus of activity. We've got sort of recommended campaigns there. Phase 3, optimization. Again, objectives, focus of activity. Phase 4, expansion. Same again. Channel and content strategy by phase. Phase 1, website and Google business profile, Instagram and TikTok or Reels, email, local SEO. Formats, 30 to 45 second plain English videos, simple graphics, area pages. And as we go through, we got phase 2. Again, it's detailing the channels that we should prioritize, the messaging themes, the formats, even the cadence here. 4 social posts a week, 2 videos a week, emailed 2 to 4 per month, segmented. And we go through the phases. Bear in mind, this is the draft. If I answered all of the questions, it would refine this even further. Campaign and activation ideas, just to wrap this up. The Nottingham rental reality check. What it is, a simple monthly content drop, average rents, demand hotspots, repairs without the chase promise, what it is, publish your repairs process and response expectations, and so on and so forth. Conversion and retention strategy. I won't read every word of this because the best thing for you to do is to go and have a play with it yourselves. The prompts that I've just used are available to you in the free handout. An email came around, I think, yesterday, and there'll be another one after this webinar. But hopefully that gives you an insight into the staggering accuracy and speed with which you can plan your marketing for this year and know that it is relevant and know that it is accurate to your very own customer base. So let me come back to our slides just to wrap things up. And I haven't actually looked. I don't know if there are any questions in the Q&A. If you have any that you'd like to pose, get them in now because we'll wrap. I know we're a bit over time. We'll certainly wrap this up by 1 o'clock. But I'll come back to our slides just to wrap this up. Gone back to the beginning. Bear with. Let's just do it that way. So what we would like you to take away from this is that there are really 3 approaches that you can take to planning your marketing in 2026. You can do it off your own back, and we'd urge you at the very least to complete the ISTAR survey, the questionnaire, which completely free of charge will tell you where you're falling short and what your opportunities are in your existing marketing plan.
Here's a nudge for you. 20% of people on this call already have.
Simon's been busy in the background. Very good. There we go. That's what I needed to do. You can move it up several notches from that and remove assumption from the equation by investing £365 in a customer DNA report. We then ask you for your postcodes, or even better, actual addresses, not customer details, just addresses of your current customers, so that we can give you that precise data set of your customers. And you can then use AI in combination with that to very quickly and accurately plan your marketing. Or you could move that up to the one caveat with that comes that it does obviously leave the legwork for you to then execute your marketing yourself, albeit you'll know that it is completely accurate and on point. And then the third option is to remove the legwork and use a company such as Unchained, or particularly Unchained because we use that customer data to remove the burden of your marketing entirely from you and run it in the background, as we do for so many people. Simon, I've rabbited away for quite a long time there. Anything to add to that?
A brilliant demo. I joked in the chat we should charge more, because I see that and I think, God, I wish I'd had that 30 years ago, because it's a game changer. You know, when you work for a FTSE 100 company, you get this data and you take it for granted. Working in SMEs, which is my preferred space, you suddenly realize there's an absence of this. And it's taken me I was 6'3" when I started. I'm now 5'6". It's taken me 3 years to negotiate with Experian and YouGov to bring the prices down so we can basically do it for an SME at a small scale. So which literally, it will be your local data as opposed to their national vast databases. A couple of questions that came in while you were talking, good questions, is what's the cost of TV ads? Well, it ranges. I mean, it's how long is a piece of string, but about £150 for 30 seconds to £35,000. It's not cheap. You're talking about a few £1,000s commitment a month. You know, 3,700 to 7,000 on ITV, down to 800 to £1,600 on Channel 5. But if you have a budget, nothing will give you bigger reach, and they will really, really help you. And there's a provider I know and I can introduce you to who does these very bespoke small packages, and they're almost like the spaces that aren't bought in the national campaigns. So they're good spaces. They just, once they've been broadcast, they can't sell them again. So they'll fill them with a house ad or something like that. They'd rather sell it to someone. One thing just to stress for understanding, this is a question we got in terms of this can't, for legal reasons and GDPR reasons, this doesn't give you a profile of the individual household. It does all that in the back. What it gives back to you is an aggregated view of who your customers are. So this isn't a one-to-one targeting method. There are things with direct mail we can do to use your data. We can, once you've found your key profile, we can go and find every single person in your house, in your area, that matches that profile. That would be a cost for a direct mail activity or something like that. The critical thing is to understand exactly who your customer is overall, because that helps with your marketing. There's a question about whether these are just for estate agents. Not even remotely. If you have something called a customer who lives in another thing called a house, then we can help you. And this is why we wanted to do it ultimately, is to help SMEs who basically, to me, are the best businesses in the world, but are at a massive disadvantage against large corporations. So any sector from cinemas to hairdressers to plumbers. And while we've got B2C, what's called customer DNA is for B2C, business to consumer, because we have the data, we'll be launching Unchained Business DNA probably in 3 to 4 months once we've got the customer DNA out of the way. And then just very quickly on all the other questions, to make sure there's other questions. Good question. Is it a monthly fee or a one-off? A great question. Today, it is a one-off. In a couple of months' time, we will be launching a monthly subscription tool that allows you to buy it more than, well, it'll cost you more over the course of a year. And the first people, because we have to really control who we give it to, because it's going to be a beta test, the first people who will be allowed access to it will be the people who've bought Unchained Customer DNA, and will literally deduct that cost from the cost of their subscription. So it's a one-off £365, including VAT today, plus VAT on the first event, VAT. So it costs me £73 this side of the month. It costs you £73 extra next side of the month. And because we're building this as we roll it out, if you buy that now and start using it, you'll master it, and you may not need the subscription product. But for some people, they'll won't want to jump all the way up to having Unchained doing their work for. So again, we've created this mid-level, which it'll do things on a monthly basis for you and give you what you need to do on a monthly basis. But if you have this data, do what Toby's done with all those amazing prompts we've created, but also play with it. You can have conversations with your customers. Yeah. And actually, if you use the little microphone, you can talk to your customers.
I think it's a very good point. We've looked at all this through a marketing lens. It of course relates to, I know people who use ChatGPT to also get advice on business decisions, new services, pricing strategies. Once you know how your customer thinks and who they are and how what their DNA is, you can talk to ChatGPT about anything relating to your business, including marketing. Okay. Any other questions in there?
So I think I've answered, just going back. So in terms of the big questions that came out at the beginning, time. Okay,
yes.
I hope you saw from what Toby really expertly demonstrated there is how much time this saves. You actually don't need to think. You kind of have your own marketing director in your back pocket, which is kind of handy. So it does all that for you. And use the prompts. If you look at the full prompt library, which you get if you buy Customer DNA, it gives you all the breakdown of how it creates all the content, which is then super quick based on accurate data. Budget, you could pay an agency to do this, and you'll pay 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12,000 pounds a month for this. Do it yourself, or pay at the entry level. Go, actually, I was going to hire a marketing manager. I'll pay Unchained £3,650 a month, and they'll do it for me. So,
but I also think, Simon, on the question of budget, I know that a lot of agencies currently approach the channel choice like a game of poker. I'll put 2 on red, 2 on black, and when you talk about budget from a marketing perspective and how you should allocate your budget, again, you're going to get far clearer direction on, how much to dedicate towards direct mail, how much to dedicate towards paid social ads, that kind of thing.
GEO and SEO. I'll do a plug for one of our friend agencies, GeoCale. They do a great job. Our job is to do the marketing. So the tech side of geo, geographic engine optimization and search engine optimization, I would strongly recommend the guys at GeoCale to help you with that.
I found it interesting that this particular data set because of that young renter demographic, did recommend that we paid attention to our Google business profile. So again, in terms of direction, you're also getting that from there.
Free tip for you: go to GT Metrics. We'll put a link in the threads, or websitegrader.com, and it'll rank your website. It'll tell you where you're strong and you're weak. And if you give that to your developer, you don't need an agency to fix the problems then normally, because they're normally, this is the biggest one you'll have, your images are too big. It's true of all estate agents and letting agents, your images are too big. So you need to compress them. In terms of being consistent across all channels, you don't need to be on all channels. Customer DNA will tell you which channels to be on. Vast array of promotional directions. Again, Customer DNA will tell you which promotional direction you need to go on.
And so if you're just jumping in that again, consistency across channels, obviously what it will then go on to do further down the production line is, whatever campaigns you're carrying out, it will automatically draft them for, it will adapt it for, well, here's your copy for Facebook, here's your copy for Instagram, here's your copy for LinkedIn. So being consistent across platforms, it will certainly help you with that.
Brilliant.
Any other questions?
Do we have any more questions? Okay. How do the postcodes work? So good question. If people need to go at 1, don't worry. I know, because people have diary clashes. If you go, we're going to keep recording this, and we'll send you all a copy of the recording.
Recording and rewarding.
Reward. It's a rewarding recording. That's what it is. R squared. And I love a good R squared. It's about correlation coefficients. Don't get me started. How do the postcodes work? Okay, a really good question, because you can do it in 2 ways you want. We would recommend you put in your actual live properties, because that's who your actual customers are. And then you get a really detailed understanding of who the people you're currently reaching and attracting are. Because in many ways, the easiest thing you can do is get more of the people you've already got, because people shop alike. We herd as animals, and therefore, you get similar properties. If you are interested in a new area, or you just wanted a general understanding of the area in which you operate, you could actually just go, look, it's all the postcodes in, Toby mentions Nottingham, NG31. Could you do me a profile of NG31? And it will tell you a really detailed profile of NG31. Or let's say you're in NG31-8, where I live, and I'm interested in NG31-9 and 10. I could basically pay my £365, and I get a really detailed profile of NG31, 8, 9. It would normally cost me £3,000 to £5,000 for that data. So as a tool, while each profile costs you £365, it's not costing you £3,000 to £5,000. But my best advice to you would start with your live customers, and then you'll get a really detailed understanding of who you currently serve and where they sit, and then you start making your marketing work. And it also, once you've got that, without waffling on too long, you can actually ask it to, I'm interested in going into more affluent areas or different areas. It will help you. And once you've done that, you can then get another customer DNA profile. Does the data include customer reviews? No, it includes every single thing about the household data that's available for a credit reference agency, and research on 350,000 people. It doesn't include live review data, just not in the data set. So no. End us with an S, with a yes, Toby, because that was a downer ending in terms of my answer.
But does it include political persuasion, shopping preferences, channel preferences, stage of life, stage of affluence, and about 800 other things beside? Yes. Yes, it does. Thank you very much, everybody. Apologies for going over time, but if you're familiar with either of us, that should be expected. We very much look forward to doing this again. A completely different topic. Simon's webinar next month will be very interesting and very good fun. We'll follow up this with an email, just so you got all the links and the handout that's been shared with you today. And if this is a very big subject, and if you'd like to learn anything more about the data or the application in AI, do reach out to us. But thank you very much for joining us.